What is up, everybody? It's Cannan, back with another video, and today I was like, what should Wednesday's video be? Usually it's a Let's Play, but I decided, you know what, I'm gonna let everyone on Twitter decide. So I didn't give I asked the question a little bit too late, so I only gave it about an hour. So not that many people voted, but this topic won. So next week, I'll definitely do a Let's Play, because the rest of this week is pretty much devoted to Ruby, and but this is the last week of Ruby until February, so a lot more non-Ruby stuff will still be happening. So I decided to talk about a couple of games, plus some games that are coming out next year that I'm really looking forward to. And, you know, I need to do more videos like this, because this is kind of also a gaming channel. I really need to start following games some more. But, you know, with work and all that, just never have the time. So I want to kick this video off by first doing a very short mini review of Assassins Creed Valhalla. Now, this is a little late compared to some other channels, but unlike the really big channels, you know, I don't get early review copies. So I had to play the game and, you know, fully beat it before I wanted to give my thoughts on it. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Valhalla is probably, in my honest opinion, the best Assassin's Creed since Black Flag. Now, for the longest time, Black Flag was my most favorite Assassin's Creed. Because, you know, after that, I believe it was Rogue that came out, and Rogue was alright. Unity came out, and we know the big mess that game was, but after it was fixed and patched and all that, it's a pretty okay game. Syndicate, I kind of enjoyed, but there were parts of it, like, at that point, I think it was smart for Ubisoft to change how Assassin's Creed works. I think at that time it was getting a little stale. Then Origins came out, and for me, being a huge RPG player, I loved Origins when it first came out. I loved the change up, but then Assassin's Creed Odyssey came out. Now, I'm a history buff, which is another reason why I love Assassin's Creed, but I love ancient Greece. To me, whenever I was in school, because originally I wanted to be a history teacher, and because I just love history, and the moment this was announced, oh, it takes place in ancient Greece, I was hooked. Ancient Greece, like the gods, the goddesses, watching the Odyssey in school, like, I love anything ancient Greek related. Like, I just think that's one of the most interesting parts of history, plus some of the best stories you can enjoy, because they just turn your imagination on, you know, like you're reading this stuff, and like Hercules going into the underworld, and you imagine all that. So I was really happy. But also, if you guys know me well enough, you know that I love it when they give you gender options in games, and you could choose between playing as Alexios or Cassandra. I personally went with Cassandra, because you guys know that I like to play as female lead protagonists, and I loved Cassandra. But I will say, even as someone who loved Odyssey, Valhalla just blows it out of the water. For one, even though I've not personally played the PS4 version, I've seen comparisons, and the PS5 version blows the PS4 version out of the water. I also really do think female Eivor is one of the best Assassin's Creed protagonists, because the voice actress, I forgot her name, but she done such a good job of adding this edge to Eivor's voice, where, yes, she will talk to you in a civil manner, you know, to do what she needs to achieve, but if you cross it the wrong way, you're going to get an axe to the head, you know, like, and just like it's almost like they took what made Origins and Odyssey really well, and they re-added stuff that reminded me of stuff from the original games. Like in Odyssey and Origins, like if you went into an enemy fort, like, yeah, it would be like, you know, oh, you know, best stay hidden. But in this one, like, you go into actual towns where you are suspected, so you have to put your hood up. And that's something that reminded me of the earlier games. Like in Black Flag, if you were suspected, Edward would put his hood up. Um, Also, the game is very, very long. I still have a ton of side quests to do, but I went ahead and finished it, and I clocked it in about 100 hours. But there's still stuff for me to do. Plus, there's the DLC to come out later, which I'm really excited for. I'm excited for this season pass content. I loved the Beowulf mission that you get just for buying the season pass, but I also am looking forward to the one that takes place in Ireland, and I'm looking forward to the one that takes place in Paris. So those come out next year. So very, very, very looking forward to those. The gameplay was really fun. I loved dual wielding. I thought that was really fun. I love the settlement building, like building up your settlement was really, 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 really nice. The romance options, I felt like there wasn't as many this time around, but a few of them are a little bit more long lasting than the ones in Aussies, because let's face it, almost all, like pretty much all of the romance options in Odyssey were pretty much a one night stand. One romance option I think is kind of pushed as the Cannan one. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it seems like that's kind of how it goes. Also, I loved the raids. Like in Odyssey, the conquest battles were fun at first, but then they got really, really old after a while, because they just keep on happening, and you know, you don't have to take part in them, but I felt like they happened way too often sometimes. The raids, there's a set number of them. Once you do all of them, they're gone, but they were fun. Like, I never thought raiding a place as a Viking would be so much fun, but it was. The main story of this one I thought was very good. The weakest point of it is still the modern day, but let's face it, there's a lot of people now who play Assassin's Creed that don't even really think about the modern day story anymore. They play it for, you know, the historical story. But I'm gonna give, in this little mini review, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I'm definitely gonna give it a 9 out of 10, because I think it's one of the better games to play. Especially, it's one of the games to play on the newer systems. Plays really well on the PS5. There's still a little bit of glitches here and there, but that can be ironed out. Now let's move on to what's a very big controversial story, and that is the story of Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I will not lie, I have been looking forward to this game since about, like, I remember when it was announced in 2012, but I knew that it was going to be a long time before we saw this game, so I wasn't that too excited for it until we got to about 2018, when we first got to see, like, the gameplay trailers and all that. But, you know, it's it's funny, because I feel like the gaming community is one of the most dramatic communities you can be in, because, like, a game can be hyped up, and if it's just not 100% perfect, they hate on it, and then once it gets ironed out and is almost perfect, then they tout it as a masterpiece. And it's funny, I seem to remember the same kind of thing happening to The Witcher 3 when it first came out. Like, and to this day, there's still bugs in that game, but it's still considered one of the best games of all time. And I have a feeling that this will happen again with this. Like, once it gets fully ironed out and fixed, people will tout it as one of the better games released. Especially once the PS4 and Xbox One version gets fully fixed. Once we get the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X upgrades, we'll see how things go. I do think CD Projekt Red could have done a little bit better, like, you know, not showing off PS4 and Xbox One, like, anything before release. Yeah, they probably shouldn't have done that. But I guess I'm one of the lucky few. Like, I'm playing it on PlayStation 5, and I've not experienced anything that ruins the game. Like, I think the only thing that I've had happen is Jackie walk through a closed door, and that was it. I mean, immersion breaking maybe a little bit, but as far as, like, it ruining the game, not so much. I think it's a great game so far. I mean, I might think differently if it crashes on me too much or something like that, but I think a lot of people knew that this game was not going to be 100% ready when it came out. Like, it had too many delays, but you had people, like, threatening to cancel pre-orders and all that if it didn't come out in December. I think they could have waited till January or February maybe. But they've got investors, they've got stockholders, they had, like, it was pretty much the point where it was almost damned if they do, damned if they didn't. And it's funny, like, all these people asking for refunds. I have a feeling once it's fixed and ironed out, they're just going to buy it again, and I don't exactly agree with that because, it's kind of like we're sometimes a little too forgiving on being okay with games being glitchy because we'll just be like, oh, they'll fix it, I do kind of miss the days where you put the game in and, that was it. I mean, if it had a glitch in it, it had a glitch in it. You had to work around it. But at least they take the time to fix them. There's some companies, it'd be like, we're not going to fix it. Just, we got your money. That's it. So it's a good thing they do take the time to fix them. But so far, my general experience with it, it's a great game. Having a ton of fun with it. Very, very, very in-depth character customization or creation. And yeah, I mean, so far I'm enjoying it. I may feel differently by the time I'm finished with it. I may give a little mini review of it once I'm done. But yeah, also don't send CD Projekt Red death threats. Like, that's not a good look for anybody, really. Okay, next game that's pretty much my two games I'm talking about that are currently out. These next games are ones that are not out yet. They come out later in 2021. First one I'm going to discuss, it has a release right now of just spring 2021, and that is Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Now, if you watched the video that me and Jess did on the new Mass Effect trailer, you all know that me and Jess love Mass Effect. So, and it's wild. It's been, Mass Effect remasters have been talked about since the PS4 came out, so it's wild that we're finally now getting this, and, of course, they decided, just, coincidentally, to release a new trailer for the upcoming one. And, the only thing that worries me about this is that it feels like there are still a ton of people who do not know the difference between a remaster and a remake. I think that's kind of what happened with the Kingdoms of Amalur remaster. People were expecting PlayStation 4 level graphics and all that, and, that's not what a remaster is. Just in case that you don't know the difference, a remaster is pretty much an old game that gets a whole new coat of paint on it. Like, they may change some gameplay things, like Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD Remix when it came out on the PS3. Kingdom Hearts 1 originally on PlayStation 2 had one of the worst cameras in the world. You moved Sora around with one of the analog sticks, and the camera was like R1 or L1. It was one of the shoulder buttons. R2, L2, one of those. It made it extremely difficult sometimes. And in the remaster, they put the camera on the other analog stick. So much better. Like, you have no idea how much better that is. So yeah, with remasters, it's just, they fix the graphics to make them look to be HD. They may change some gameplay things, and maybe sometimes they'll redo the music. Remake, look no further than Final Fantasy VII Remake. You look at the PlayStation 1 version of Final Fantasy VII and then the PlayStation 4 version. That is a remake. It is an old game that is 100% created again, built from the ground up. Like, just all new graphics. Some, if it had voice acting, sometimes it has all new voice actors, sometimes new music. They add new stuff. Yeah, so this Mass Effect Legendary Edition is not a remake. It is remasters. Though they did say that they are going to upgrade the character models. So the character models may actually look brand spanking new, which is good because the character models in Mass Effect 2, everybody looks like they're made out of wax. Like, their skin is way too glossy looking. And then in Mass Effect 3, like, some of the ways they drastically changed how some of the characters look, it was just like, what the heck? What happened to you, you know? So, looking very forward to that. I wonder if they'll have a way to take your save files from the Legendary Edition and put it into the new one when it comes out, since the new one kind of looks like it is like a full-on sequel of the trilogy. We'll see. It depends on if it is a full-on sequel. So yeah, there was that one. The next one comes out in March, and that is Monster Hunter Rise. I am a huge fan of the Monster Hunter series. I really loved Monster Hunter World as well, like, because before Monster Hunter World, I kind of fell out of the Monster Hunter series because it was on the 3DS, and there was just some series that I just do not think played well on the 3DS. Kingdom Hearts was one of them, and Monster Hunter, and Fire Emblem. I could not, like, you know, I love Fire Emblem, but Awakening and Fates, I just couldn't get into on a handheld system. That's why for Three Houses I only play it on the television. So yeah, really looking forward to this. It looks really amazing. I love the fact that they're using the RE engine, which is pretty much the Resident Evil engine. And it's so while a few years ago I was not having anything to do with Capcom, I felt like they were ruining the Resident Evil series there for a while. They had pretty much killed off Mega Man because they were doing nothing with him, but they kind of brought themselves back with stuff like Resident Evil 7 and games like Monster Hunter World, you know, and stuff like that. So Capcom has definitely, like, the Capcom like back in 2009, 2010 is nothing like the ones now. Like, there was a very short time, like when they canceled Mega Man Legends 3, that there were a lot of people that wanted Capcom to go out of business. I wasn't one of them, but I'm still pretty sore over the cancellation of Mega Man Legends 3. Please, Capcom, bring that game back. Next game we are going to talk about after that is another game that comes out in March, and that is Story of Seasons, Pioneers of Olive Town. Now, I love Harvest Moon. It's one of the reasons why I've been playing Stardew Valley on this channel. Like, anything that is like Harvest Moon, I will play it. Now, if you're wondering what exactly Story of Seasons is, it's the Harvest Moon we all grew up with. It is technically Harvest Moon, but Marvelous, the ones who have always developed the Harvest Moon games, and Natsume, the ones who published the Harvest Moon games in English, they parted ways, but Natsume kept the rights to the Harvest Moon series in America. So if you see anything that says Harvest Moon on it and it's by Natsume, that is not the Harvest Moon you grew up with. And tell you the truth, ever since Natsume started making their own Harvest Moon games, they've not been that great. But that's the reason why Marvelous renamed it Story of Seasons. It is pretty much Harvest Moon. Like, if you played Harvest Moon Back to Nature on the PlayStation 1, if they ever re-released that, it would be called Story of Seasons Back to Nature, or Story of Seasons A Wonderful Life, Story of Seasons Magical Melody, Story of Seasons Tree of Tranquility. Like, all the Harvest Moon games that you played, like on the DS, the 3DS, the Wii, the GameCube, any of those games are what Story of Seasons is. And see, when was it? I think last summer, the summer that just passed, they remade one of my all-time favorite games, and that was Friends of Mineral Town. Friends of Mineral Town is one of the best Harvest Moon games ever. It was originally on the Game Boy Advance, and technically it was a kind of remake to Back to Nature on the PlayStation 1, just like Back to Nature was kind of a re-release slash... it was more of a re-release of Harvest Moon 64. And Mineral Town to this day is one of my favorite Harvest Moon towns, one of my favorite cast of villagers. And they changed a few things, especially the character designs. Like, the character designs are these little chibi like appearances, which a lot of people didn't like. But it pretty much took Friends of Mineral Town and More Friends of Mineral Town, which was the girl version, and combine them. So you can play as a male or female. They also, for the first time in this, well, technically that's wrong, because in Harvest Moon More Friends of Mineral Town, which was the girl version where you could play as a female character, you could enter into what is called like a best friend ceremony with another girl. Like they passed it off as just being really best friends, but it was kind of same-sex marriage. Well, in Story of Seasons Friends of Mineral Town, for the first time officially, a Harvest Moon game had same-sex marriage, and that's coming back in in Pioneers of Olive Town. So looking very, very forward to that. I actually pre-ordered that today because for the longest time it wasn't showing up as a pre-order. I got the premium edition. I may do an unboxing of that. Who knows? And also going back to Monster Hunter Rise, I actually pre-ordered the collector's edition of that, which technically it's just the game and an amiibo. But looking forward to both of those games on the Switch. I need more Switch games. And the last game I'm talking about, yeah, this is not a very long list. There's like a ton of games that I am looking forward to, but a lot of them do not have set release dates. And technically this one doesn't either. It has a Japanese release date, and that is Rune Factory 5. I am super looking forward to this. I have always loved Rune Factory. I remember once pretty much the company that was developing, well, technically it's always, well, no, actually Marvelous wasn't, but the team that originally made Rune Factory sadly went out of business, but the entire team was picked up by Marvelous, so now Marvelous is making the Rune Factory series, and that was, Rune Factory 4 came out a long time ago on the 3DS, but they re-released it for the Switch, which Jess owns, and she absolutely loves that game. So yeah, no official release date yet in America for Rune Factory 5. It comes out in May, I believe, in Japan. So hopefully either a June or July release, or maybe a fall or holiday release for that. The one thing that we're all waiting for to hear on that is if it's going to have same-sex marriage as well, just like Story of Seasons. But since Marvelous makes both games, I'm kind of hoping it does. You know, it seems kind of weird that you would include it in Story of Seasons and not Rune Factory, but we'll just have to see. But yeah, that is pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. Pretty much, you know, give my thoughts on Assassin's Creed since I finally beat it. Give my thoughts on Cyberpunk since I was finally able to start it, you know, because our awful internet took me forever to download that day one patch at 45 gigabytes. But that and just some games that I'm looking forward to that are coming out later in 2021, because it'll be here before we know it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If I mentioned any games that you guys like, or, you know, if you've played Assassin's Creed or you've been playing Cyberpunk, let me know your thoughts on it. I'm sure it'll be 100% different from mine, but hey, I mean, that's just my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong, just, you know, how I think on it, on the current situation. I do feel for the people whose systems are just not able to run the game. So, you know, hopefully that gets fixed ASAP. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, click that like button, leave me a comment, tell me what you thought, tell me some of the games you're looking forward to. Once again, thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. This is Cannan. Me and Jess love you all very, very much. Stay safe out there, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.